If you've been wondering what R. Kelly's up to lately, he may or may not be running an abusive cult for sex slaves. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Winnie the Pooh, who's been blacklisted by Chinese internet censors for something that seems kind of silly. But that's sort of things that Winnie the Pooh gets himself into. Plus, a surgeon finds 27 missing contacts in one woman's eye. 27 in one eye. We'll talk about why this was found and why this is not so much it's not a rarity, but 27 is a pretty big number. We'll talk about those and more with all the stories we chatted about yesterday, or a good chunk of them, for today's Daily Recap podcast. Today happens to be July 18th, 2017. And welcome to the podcast. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. I am here to go over the stories, the conversations that we had yesterday inside of our website and our social media for This Is a Conversation. So if you're not following us on social media, that's your way to get in on all the votes, all the talk, all the chatter. Tell us which stories are the top ones for the next upcoming day. Follow us on Twitter at @TH_conversation. Follow us on Facebook. Look for This Is a Conversation. And on the main website, we are just at thisisaconversation.com. Check it out for great features that we have on the website. Plus, find out a little bit about our sponsors, the folks that help us keep the lights on for this show, to keep the conversations going online with you every day. And let's get into the stories. These are stories that we talked about, we tweeted, we Facebooked, we shared, we loved all over for Monday, July the 17th. These are a few of the top ones that hit the big bill, including the fact that late in the evening, the formation of Tropical Storm Don caused a whole lot of fuss over the internet because there is a storm brewing here in the United States named Donald Trump. So everybody jumped on the Donald Trump bandwagon and twittered like crazy with all sorts of jokes about Tropical Storm Don. And, of course, calling him as if he were the actual Donald Trump. The Don is what he's been called up until he was president. Now I guess he's President Don. Meanwhile, speaking of Twitter, there's a new poll that says 67% of Americans would like Trump to delete his Twitter account. This is a story I found off of USA Today last night, and it was amazing. There is a big chunk of Americans, even though Donald Trump believes and says that his Twitter account is how he reaches his base, how he touches the people out there that want to hear from him, and, of course, how he gets around the media, the lying, cheating media, whatever you want to call them, by saying what needs to be said by him directly, even though a lot of those things turn out to be relatively false. He says he should be doing it. The American public, 67% of them at least right now, are saying they're tired of the tweets. They're tired of the distraction. They're tired of just the language. They're tired of him saying really stupid things, to be honest. So a big chunk of people, 67%, sounds like a majority to me, of the people polled, of course, say that the Trump Twitter should go away. The biggest story of the day launched out very early and basically turned into all sorts of craziness with everybody getting their jabs in on R. Kelly. R. Kelly, who's had issues with women, with underage women, with really weird, sexy things with women, has a story with everything all wrapped up in one. Some parents of some young ladies are being told that R. Kelly is holding them against their will in a weird sex cult. Now, R. Kelly profusely says this is not happening. Many women who are involved in this thing are saying it's not happening. But it boils down to this. R. Kelly is a very popular, very good music producer, very famous. He does a lot of great work in the music industry, but he does have the stigma of being who he is and issues with women of all types, especially underage women. The women that are involved in this grouping that are supposedly being mentored by R. Kelly doing all this extra work are of age, but barely, which is where you get that from there. And they seem to be working extra hours and not seeming to getting a lot out of the projects that are being created. In fact, R. Kelly doesn't seem to get a lot out of the projects being created right now, but that's that's how the business runs, I guess. He's not in the flow for the popular sides of music right now. He's not on the top at this point. So whether he's actually just running a performance group that is working on a lot of music and trying to mentor some young ladies in the music business, or whether he's actually running a sex cult where they're doing weird acts, in the studio, we may never know, because we know what happened last time this thing became a big deal. Most people sort of either denied it, ignored it, or just assumed that weird things happen for guys like R. Kelly. A weird thing happened for a guy named Ezekiel Elliott, who was a star running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Actually, not so weird. He's right now waiting on finding out from Commissioner Roger Goodell on some sanctions, you could say, on some punishments for some things he had being not so great in his rookie season last year. However, not so great off the field. On the field, he was awesome. Off the field, he had some issues here or there. However, this doesn't really help. Basically, they're waiting for a cumulative grouping of all the things that he's counted for, and some of them were domestic violence, some of them were general stuff, and just kind of doing them all in one fell swoop and taking the bulk of what happened and making one punishment to fit everything going on. But before that punishment is going to be levied, which was going to happen fairly soon because training camp start for the NFL in a few weeks, he did something else. He punched some dude at a club, which is not a very good thing. An altercation at a club in Dallas on Sunday night, late Sunday night, early Monday morning, led to the news, Ezekiel Elliott dealing with this now thing on what's going on. He's in Dallas obviously because he lives there and that's where he works for the team, Dallas Cowboys. So it's basically getting into a fight in your hometown a few weeks before you get ready to get started for a big project. We'll see if Roger Goodell adds this to the punishment he's going to get already, or if this will be a separate deal and how it plays itself out. A couple who were imitating the Dirty Dancing scene where Baby gets picked up by Johnny were practicing out in the park one day because they wanted to do that at their wedding. Everybody has these cool wedding things where they have big bombastic themes and Bollywood-type productions and line dancing and all stuff like that. And so they wanted to do a Dirty Dancing thing. They did a practice. They hurt themselves. They injured themselves in the middle of the public park. There were selfies taken and pictures taken of people practicing and then hitting the ground and people trying to attend to them. They decided to cut that scene from their upcoming nuptials. They are going to do something a bit more safer with 2 feet, in their cases, 4 feet on the ground. Let's do the curious case of Winnie the Pooh being blacklisted by Chinese internet censors. Now, we are happy and free here in the United States and probably most of the countries where you listen to this, where the internet is uncensored, for lack of a better term. It's open and free for everyone, at least in the general public, for general knowledge, general things. There had been people have been saying that the president of China, Xi Jinping, which I hopefully got that correct, has some very similar characteristics to the stuffed bear, basically saying, why the president look like Winnie the Pooh? So apparently someone didn't like the president being compared to Winnie the Pooh, and they have banned all Winnie the Pooh paraphernalia, all Winnie the Pooh access from the Chinese internet. So if you're in China right now and thinking you're going to read a story about the blustery day on your cell phone, that ain't going to happen because of the current ban on Winnie the Pooh from censors in China, because he kind of looks like the president, or the president. Well, either way. Here's a weird story. I know I say that a lot, but this one is really weird, dealing with import, exports, and drugs, all in the same thing, legal import and exports, and the drug trade. A large amount of marijuana is found to be crossing the U.S.-Mexico border, packed inside trunks of new Ford Fusions. Brand new cars are being shipped from Mexico to the States with drugs already ready to go. Now, a dealership in Ohio found packages of marijuana hidden in the spare tire wheels of about 15 brand new Mexican-made Ford Fusions, and a handful of other similarly disguised marijuana packages ended up at a Pennsylvania dealership a few days ago as well. The agent in charge of this case out of the Youngstown's Ohio office said it's the first time he's ever seen this type of smuggling locally. He's seen things on a national scale, but the cars were manufactured in a plant in Hermosa, Sonora, Mexico, and shipped by rail to Lordsville, Ohio, and then, of course, shipped away from there from various places, specifically mostly in the area for Ohio dealerships. The bulk of them, of course, found in the one there. Now, whether they'll have more of these findings, we may find out soon, but somebody in Mexico has found a way to ship lots of drugs via brand new cars. Whether they were supposed to go to these dealerships directly or to other dealership, we shall soon see. Now, we're told this is not as weird as it seems, but people who wear contact lenses may every so often lose one in their eye, come off of their actual eyeball and kind of roll into their eye. Most of the times they'll fish around with it to pull it out and be done with it. or if it gets serious and it irritates them, they'll go to the doctor. The doctor will remove it. Surgeons in the UK were preparing a lady for cataract surgery because she was having issues with cataracts. And in the process, they found a weird thing, and they tapped at it. It didn't give her any problems, any pressure. And when they started picking at it and pulling at it and moving out, they found 27 contact lenses in one eye, just lost in her eye, lodged up in the back of her eyelid, back of her eyeball, essentially, and just living there without giving her any discomfort whatsoever. She had no idea that was there. She just thought every so often she had some irritation or some dry eyes because she was old, but she didn't realize that she had 27 foreign objects sitting on top of each other in her eyeball. Now, in an amended version of a story I saw on this online, another day, TAC contacted a doctor here in the States who says the most he's pulled out of a person's eye were 5. A person wearing disposable contacts, essentially losing the contact and thinking it falls out into the ground, but it actually rolled into the back of their space there and just kind of stayed there unbeknownst to them until it got irritated. This guy that he pulled it out from had 5 and it started to notice it. But apparently people losing contact lenses in their eyes for extended periods of time is a thing. 27 is a pretty big thing. The people at Ashley Madison's parent company have come up with a settlement for the users in their exposed data breach. Now, this is going to make life maybe a little bit better for all the people whose names are on that list on the Ashley Madison website for having an account. Not necessarily having an affair, but having an account. Now, this became a big deal. Ashley Madison, of course, the company that had the tagline, life is short, have an affair, a place where people, but most of the paying customers there were men, and men with some significant money and assets and reputations to keep private, made their accounts and hoped that it would be kept private and hope to have their business taken care of without anyone beknownst to the world. This database was breached by some watchdog group, and the entire list was printed on the internet. In full disclosure, I once had an account on Ashley Madison, a paid account, and a paid account on some other dating service sites to test out a project we had for a news story we were doing. And yes, I was married at the time, and yes, she knew about it. But no, I did not have any affairs or get any dates out of it. Maybe I'm just that boring. But some people did get affairs and dates out of it, including some very prominent people who lost jobs, lost money, lost careers, lost a lot of face. And because of that, Ashley Madison is settling for what's essentially a database breach, essentially a breach of the information getting out there, leaking to the world, not necessarily saying they did anything wrong, because obviously the people having affairs online were the ones doing things wrong. And Paul Pierce of now the Boston Celtics, again, is a Boston Celtics for a few days as he sets his retirement. Yesterday, he signed a contract that will make him a Celtic now, essentially for a couple days, until he officially announces his retirement, so he can leave out with the team he started with. He spent his first 15 seasons in the NBA with the Boston Celtics, of course, bringing in a couple good friends at the time, that being Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. Ray Allen maybe not such a good friend at this point, and even bringing in another championship to the Celtics and bringing in a new level of basketball, a new age of youth and talent. He was young and talented at the time. The other guys were getting kind of old and just doing his thing. So congratulations on Paul Pierce on a great career, seeming like a great guy. And we'll see where your life will take some from here. Probably doing some broadcast, some color work in the NBA with basketball. We'll see what happens from there. But for me, we'll see what happens for the rest of my day, and in fact, the rest of your day as well, with the conversations that will go on for this Tuesday. Now, keep an eye on your social media and, of course, at our website to see what stories we are putting out there to talk about, the people we're going to jump into and say are pretty important. Check it out on Facebook. Look for This Is the Conversation. Find us on Twitter at @TH_conversation, and our main website where you can comment there as well is thisistheconversation.com. Stop by the website for great features and check out some of our sponsors. They help keep the lights on here in the building, and hopefully they can do a great thing for you. They may be having the right service or the right product to make sure that you get your life going much better. In the meantime, you can check out my other projects, lots of things going on at jclevelandpayne.net, and we love for you to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast from, and wherever that is, leave a rating and review. Whether you're an Apple guy with iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whether you're an Android person and you use a service like Spreaker or Stitcher, maybe you're new into Google Play, which is having its issues with its podcasting, but you like Google Play and you want to get it there, we're there as well. We're all over the place. And if you download us on your favorite podcatcher, you can always just go to our website, thisisaconversation.com, and leave us some comments and feedback on how we're doing so that, number one, we know how we're doing and the people out there can see how we're doing as well. Thank you so much for being with us. This is the part where I say thank you a bunch of times. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us all day long with all our conversations and listening to the podcast on a daily basis to see which ones are the tops for the day. We will do this all over again tomorrow morning for another edition of Daily Recaps, recapping this Tuesday for you from thisisaconversation.com.